What's going on, housemates? Marcelo here. I hope you're doing well wherever you're watching this video from around the world. It's been a little while since my last video, and if you can't tell from the sound of my voice, I am pretty sick, and I've been sick for basically the last week. So it has not been as easy to get in front of camera and make content, but a big one coming up tomorrow, so I figured gotta chat about it with you all. And that is the round of 16 of the Champions League. We go away to PSV tomorrow. And, really, this is the last route to silverware that we have this season. And we've only just began March. So it has ended up, a pretty frustrating season on a number of fronts. But I think no one is more responsible for that than our board, of course, with what they decided not to do in January, which was sign a couple of players, even if on loan. I look at Aston Villa with Marcus Rashford and Asensio linking up on multiple occasions already for a few goals and a couple of wins. But anyways, we've already talked plenty. We know how much our board let us down, so I don't want to keep, beating that drum. I'm here to talk about PSV, and it will be far from an easy game. Any away game in the Champions League, of course, is a difficult test, but especially when you get to the knockout phase, so much at stake, and every team knows how much there is to play for. And, there's nothing, if not hope, we have nothing as Arsenal fans, right? So, as difficult as it is to imagine our only silverware this season being our first ever Champions League trophy, our first ever European Cup trophy, we got to say we can win it. I mean, defense wins you tournaments, and we still have one of the best defenses in the world, if not the best defense in the world. I think really more than anything, it depends on when key players come back, of course, namely Bukayo Saka. But focusing on tomorrow, PSV, of course, is a team that we have played very recently. Last season was our first back in the Champions League in a long time, and we played against them in the group stage. We played them in our first Champions League game in whatever it was, 8 years or something, 6 years, and we dismantled them 4-0. It was a pretty easy game for us at the Emirates. But when we played away, we drew 1-1. And, of course, a lot can happen in a year. So, both very different teams now. But going into this game, of course, both teams are coming in off the back of some poor form. Now, PSV did beat Juventus to qualify for the round of 16. So that was a big win for them, it has to be said. But they did then lose a couple of times in a row in their last two games. So they're coming in and, off the back of a couple losses. Meanwhile, we, after our, 15-game unbeaten run in the league, we lost to West Ham, and then we drew with Nottingham Forest. So we ourselves, are a couple of games without a goal. And so going away is going to be really tricky. And PSV is currently second in the Eredivisie. So they're having a pretty strong season. They made it to the round of 16. They're pretty far behind Ajax in the league standing, but still, they're in and around it. And to get to the round of 16 in the Champions League is an impressive feat for any team. Well, especially for a team that might not be on the elite level in Europe. So speaking about, what 11 I'd like us to go with, I'm going to go with Raya in goal, Timber at right back. Ben White now has a couple of games with minutes under his belt. But I think, even though the away goal rule no longer exists, still being away from home, it's really important for us to be defensively sound. And, Ben White is a good defender, but I think Timber is definitely a better defender. And so for now, I'd like to stick with Timber at right back. Saliba and Gabriel at center back. Luke de Jong is having a good season in front of goal. He's a big guy, a classic target man. And we're going to need Saliba and Gabriel to handle him because, crossing across from a winger, at least on a couple of occasions I can think of off the top of my head, are really a way that we concede goals, and it is frustrating. I mean, I think namely to, of course, the Isak header in the Carabao Cup. Sorry, not in the Carabao Cup, the Isak header in the league when we lost at St. James's Park, and then very recently the Jared Bowen goal when we lost to West Ham at home last week. Really frustrating one that. Anyways, at left back, I'm gonna go with Miles Lewis Skelly, Ricardo Calafiori against Nottingham Forest and West Ham, but especially against, well, sorry, Calafiori is excellent going forward. He's such a unique player. He's like a left back, center attacking mid left wing striker all in one. He's got so much freedom on the pitch, and it's really exciting to watch. But we can't overlook, how much growth there still is for him to do defensively. Now, he's only 22 years old. He's very young, and so that will come. But he is naturally a center back, and so when you play him out at left back where he's not got as much support around him, he is left a little bit more exposed, especially because of how much freedom he has to get forward. But he has been caught out a number of times. Sometimes he's made a great recovery, but other times he hasn't, and maybe we haven't been punished as much as we could have or should have been. But because of that, I'm going to go with Miles Lewis Skelly at left back. He's definitely stronger defensively, and he does still offer a lot in attack. Maybe not as dynamic in terms of the way that Calafiori pops up into these dangerous positions and has such an incredible instinct in front of goal. He was really unlucky not to score against Forest. He had a beautiful step over with his back to goal and bent a beautiful strike with his weak foot off the post. Oh, that would have been special if it went in. But Lewis Skelly is just a more safe option, I think. And being away from home, I think we need to go with slightly safer because he still can unlock the PSV defense. In midfield, there isn't really any scenario where I'm going to pick a different midfield trio. I mean, Jorginho is good in certain situations, but I'm sticking with Partey, Rice, and Odegaard. We got to hope that Rice can be a bit sharper in the final third when he finds himself in these positions deep into the attacking third, but he's still capable of driving forward with the ball well. Martin Odegaard, we got to see more from him. Again, he is struggling from being, without our first choice front three, but he still hides a bit in matches, and we want to see him showing that he can, make something happen on his own. And he often struggles with that. And then the front three, same front three, man. Leandro Trossard, Mikel Merino, and Ethan Nwaneri. Trossard continues to produce from the left-hand side. Mikel Merino, again, even if he's not able to, muster a chance out of nothing, he can still benefit from crosses from Leandro Trossard and Ethan Nwaneri like he did in that Leicester game. Each of those two assisted him for both of his goals. And so if we can try to get some service into him, we can maybe find some joy because he showed that he's capable of finishing. It's just we struggle to generate enough chances on a consistent basis, So when Mikel Merino has a quiet game in front of goal, my thought is more so, well, yeah, of course he's not a natural striker. And that's more indicative of the fact that we're not able to, get the ball into him, really. We got to be able to find some crosses. I would even be open to like Kieran Tierney because he's shown that he's capable of making a really good cross or two. But that's my 11. I also forgot to mention, right? Like PSV has a few dangerous players like Noah Lang, Johan Bakayoko, Perisic. All of these are dangerous wingers. And we saw Jakub Kivior when we played away last season. He got cooked by Bakayoko, and that's why I've gone with Lewis Skelly because I think Calafiori would be susceptible to the same thing. I think he might struggle against a tricky winger. And so, yeah, they've got De Jong and Pepe as their striker options. So, anyways, that's my 11. Sorry if I've been a bit slow. As I told you, I've been sick for a little while now, so it's a little harder to put these thoughts together all off the top of my head, albeit with a couple notes. But anyways, thank you for watching. Hopefully we get the win, and hopefully I'll be speaking to you about a win tomorrow because, this is all we got left this season, man. We got to take this as deep as we can. So I'll be with you all tomorrow. And as always, come on, you Gunners. Peace, everybody.